Durin got fucking nerfed. That's so funny. That's so funny. It's yeah. It's actually really funny. Like Durin actually got fucking nerfed somehow. Yes, it is. Durin is cool. Like, I'm sorry, but it is. Okay, it really is. But yeah, so here's what they changed about Durin. And by the way, pretty much no one else got changes. Albedo got a thing where like his new additional motion value, the 240 motion value, it used to be that it was 120 on the first hit and then 240 because it was 120 per isotoma. They changed it to always be 240. So which is technically a buff, but it's not really a buff. Then let's look at it on HumDGCat. So it doesn't show the old numbers. That's annoying. Right? So his okay, so these are the new numbers. These are the new numbers. And so we have 161.84, 131.24, 144.432, 176.936, and wait, I can't read. That's not what I thought this said. Wait, what do you mean 25% of the base damage? Oh! I thought it was 25%. Wait, I can't read. Holy shit. Wait, it's actually a buff. So he got a nerf to his dark mode and a buff to his light mode. No, they call it white and dark. I'm gonna get confused so much, man. Anyways, 25% of this. Bro. Okay, so you would get 1, 1, 1, and then like, I don't know, 18. And then let's look at the numbers before the changes. So it was 148.376, 111.52, 127.432, 166.6, 50%. Okay. But then this shit was... Yeah, I guess I should have this times 1.25. And then we can have his total attack. So, total attack. If he's got, like, 2,000, 2,500, and 3,000. Okay. So, at 2,000 attack, the changes are a 1% nerf. A point something percent nerf. At 2,500 attack, they're a 7% buff. At 3,000 attack, they're an 11% buff. How easy is it to get to 3,000 attack? It depends on the team. There are some teams that get pretty close. There are some teams that don't get anywhere close. It's capped to 25, I know. It's capped to 25% of the base damage, but it's not, like... At 25% of the base damage, it's 44 motion value. But if you have a Morbillion attack, 44 motion value is 44% of a Morbillion attack. Right? With the old passive, if you have a Morbillion attack, it's just 50% of 2,000. Right? Like, the ratio is capped, but the amount provided by that ratio is just normal motion value. It's not capped by his attack. Right? You can think of it as double dipping into the attack stat up until 2,500. But it's still a buff above 2,500, and arguably an even bigger one, because the old passive punished building more than 2,000 attack. The new passive heavily incentivizes building at least 2,500, but doesn't punish you for building more. Right? Yeah, like the old passive was like Clorine's passive. The new passive is kind of like how Nefer is like heavily rewarded for the early points of EM she gets, because she directly scales with EM and EM increases the EM multiplier. But yeah, so it's like a massive buff for high attack Durin. Why do we need 3,000? It's not that we need 3,000. The point I'm making is just like at 3,000 attack, right? You have reached the cap because it caps at 2,500. But 25% of, oh, well, 176.93 or 94, whatever, right? This is 44 motion value. Let's actually, like, just look at the Ascension passive, right? And see how it goes at 0, and then we take 500 attack at a time, right? Up until, like, 4,000. The old passive, right? It was just directly motion value, 50% of his attack, but it was capped at 2,000. So the lower value between his attack and 2,000. Because if it's higher than 2,000, it'll take 2,000 instead. No, I don't want this in percentage. The new passive, it looks at the motion value, which is 176.94. And it increases that number based on his attack. And that increase is going to be, for each 100 attack, it increases it by 1%. And that's the new motion value. That multiplies his total attack. So at low attack values, the new passive is really, really bad. I'm looking at talent level 9, not Blue Chew. But it'll be even more significant at talent level 10, that's true. As you can see, right? This is old passive, new passive. And this is just the passive, not the like actual talent value itself. The talent value itself also got changed, right? It used to be 166, now it's 176. So it's also a little bit stronger there. But anyways. But as you can see, while it's a lot worse at very low attack values, you're not 500 attack ever. Your base attack is higher than that, right? If we take this, we take 0, this plus... Let's do 100 at a time and graph it. And let's go up to 4,000 attack, sure. This is going to be attack, and then A4 damage. But as you can see, right? Oh, wait, I'm an idiot. That's not true. I'm an idiot. That's not true. I forgot to fucking put the cap in here. Should I also graph the old one? I might as well, right? This is what both of the passives look like, right? The orange one is the old one. And what was capped on the old one was the total damage dealt. And so once you reach a certain amount of attack, it just stops increasing altogether. What's capped on the new one isn't the total damage dealt, it's the motion value. And so once it stops increasing, once it reaches its cap, instead of going straight, it just turns into a slope. There is still a cap, but the cap functions differently. It stops increasing, like, exponentially, or whatever the fuck this formula is. Is it an exponential increase? It is, yeah. No. It's a quadratic increase. I'm an idiot. Whatever. It stops increasing quadratically, and it starts just increasing linearly. But it's still linear, right? And linear is better than, like... What do you even call a fucking straight line like that? Like, it's not an increase. It's independent, I guess. Constant, yeah. Linear is better than constant. And so, obviously, the gap between the old passive and the new passive will keep increasing at higher attack values, even if it's capped. And it's a much larger buff at higher attack values. It's also a bit bigger than indicated here if you're using talent level 10. Because the old passive didn't look at talent level and didn't take that into account at all, and the new one does. At 187.34, right? It just makes the gap a little bit bigger. By the way, that doesn't mean you want to go out of your way to get an insane amount of attack. Let's show the total motion value, including this plus 187.34%. And then this one, for the older one at talent level 10, it was 176.4. It's still pretty close to linear scaling, right? Like, yeah, it's not exactly linear, but it's not that far removed from linear scaling. So it's not like he has a strict attack requirement, right? He doesn't need to get to 2,500. We can also look at the amount of value provided by one roll of attack. So let's say he's at 1,000 attack, because it's going to make things very straightforward if we do it that way. I guess you're kind of forced to at least be at like 1500 just from base stats. So this divided by this minus 1. This is the percentage increase from attack. The first one is, yeah, blue is new, orange is old. And for reference, a crit roll at like 300 CV is about 2.4%, 2.3, 2.4%. Right? Up until you get to about the 2500 attack is almost as valuable as crit. But as soon as you get to 2500, it sharply decreases in value. But the thing is, very often you're not going to be exactly at 2500, right? You're going to be at like 2800. And then 300 of that attack is like not that good, you know? Is C6 Grizzly cooked with Durin? Durin will steal the melt. I don't know if it's a DPS loss when Durin steals the melt. So I don't know if I call it cooked. Okay, now we can take a look at how the damage has changed on dark mode as well. Because why not? The old for dark mode was V2, yep. Level 10 for 281.52. And the old and the new for dark mode is 274.608. 274.608. It is a buff at really high attack values. Okay. Wait. Okay, I think it's a buff as a whole, actually. Because you do get to higher attack on carry Durin. Okay. Good. By the way, chat, something that's really funny to me is, you know, what are the teams for White Durin that have the most attack? It's teams that have team-wide attack buffs. Who's a great example of a character with a team-wide attack buff? Chevreuse. What team did I calc for Durin Chevreuse? Oh. Okay, so it was this one, right? Wait, why is it at 97k? Was it because I changed assumptions? What's the difference between the gilded one? Is it motion value changes? Motion value... What the... Motion value pyro was slightly different? Why is it different? I was doing different combos, right? Yeah, I was doing different combos. Okay, yeah, this one is kind of fake, right? That's why. Okay. Why was this one... What brought this one back to below 100k? Is Razor C6 necessary for 100k? Do not play Razor if he's not C6. It's, like, bad. Overloads? It might have been. Because I remember getting this team to 100k, but I guess I changed some assumptions around and it went down a little. Oh! I put the Durin nerf in, but I didn't put the frequency buff. Okay. Let's calc the team again with current values. So, Durin base stats didn't change. We have Pyro Resonance, Noblesse, substats, and yeah, okay. This was two-piece, right? Yeah. So, Bennett, Noblesse, Chevreuse. I think this one was Chevreuse on Scroll, right? Yeah. And Durin on two-piece. And the weapons were Serpent Spine, Sapwood, Wolf Fang, and Fav. Okay. Alright, so we had 1 stack average Chevreuse, that makes sense. Crit value, that makes sense. Okay. This one is fucking gone now. Because the passive isn't separate like that anymore. Okay, also, I don't actually know this because I never bothered to check. Does this apply to, does this apply to the initial hit as well? It should, right? Anyways, so at talent level 9, this is 176.94. 176.94. We now have 20 hits. And this is multiplied by 1 plus minimum of 25%. 1%. No. Yeah, 1% of total attack divided by 100. Yeah. That makes sense. We're back. We're so Barack, chat! We are so Barack! I'll change the title a little. So Durin finally competitive with Razor, as in he's competitive when paired with Razor Lamau. He doesn't beat him. Okay, but how much worse is Attack Goblet? I'm kind of curious. Alright, so this is Damage Goblet. If we add 46.6% attack and we lose 46.6% damage, yeah, that's pretty noticeably worse. Okay, but